Good morning. Should I do my school? You hear my voice clap once? You hear my voice clap twice? All right, good morning. My name is Richard Buery, and I'm very happy to welcome you all here today and to thank you for your support of this very important initiative. And I especially want to start by thanking NYU Wagner and Dean Sherry Glad. I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Sherry, how do you pronounce your last name? Where are you? Glede? I'm sorry, where are you? Where is she? She's not here? Okay. All right. Well, Sherry Glede. Well, I'm glad since I butchered her name, I'm glad she's not here. I want to thank Dean Glede and everyone at NYU Wagner for hosting us here for this important event. This is really, for me, a very, very exciting day because the work that we're doing in bringing community schools to scale in New York City is work that is long overdue and work that would not be possible without all the amazing people in this room. Our goal is to start a citywide, cross-sector, cross-agency conversation about community schools. And this advisory board is going to play a critical role in that work. First and foremost, the goal of this advisory board is to provide the administration with in-depth input and feedback on the community school program model, funding, systems building, and communication to really tell us what you need from the administration for this work to happen effectively, and to help inform the development of a strategic plan that will guide the development of the expansion of community schools here in New York City over the next 4 years. We expect to release that strategic plan in the fall. We're also going to be having a smaller steering committee drawn from this group who's going to join us after this meeting to help continue to debrief and formulate next steps. And then our plan is to continue to engage this group over the next year, possibly in a combination of meetings but also one-on-one, to make sure that as we roll these plans forward that they're really reflective of the best ideas and best practices in the development of community schools. So it's very exciting for me to be here, and I really want to thank you all for all of your time. When I say the work is work that's a little bit overdue, it's because as I look around this room, the expertise to build a system in New York City has been here for so long. I can't imagine the city better positioned to lead this work with the great organizations represented in this room. And so I'm very excited that we have leadership in City Hall and our mayor, Bill de Blasio, who can really make this work happen. So today's conversation, this overall effort, is not just about one funding stream or even one agency. As you know, the city is focusing the $52 million AIDP grant to support the start of community schools, led by our partners at United Way and also at the Department of Education. And AIDP, of course, is an important building block for bringing this work to scale. We really want to take this conversation broader and think about what this overall system needs to look like, not just through one grant stream, but how does the city need to work together? How does the system need to look in order for every school to ultimately be a community school, as my colleague Jane so frequently says. We want to figure out how do we integrate all the existing grant streams and new grant streams into this model? How do we enhance existing community schools around the city and build new ones at the same time? How do we make sure that parents and community are at the center of this work so that the work that we do in every school actually reflects the authentic needs and inputs of parents, and that in doing this work, we're empowering parents to be in a better position to be advocates and leaders and defenders of their schools. And so in order to do all that, that's why we thought it was so important to bring this group together, because we believe a lot of the best ideas and strategies to do this work already exist or already here in New York City, and we're so excited to be able to launch this work today. So I want to acknowledge a few people, some of whom are here and some of whom aren't in particular. Mike Mulgrew is not here, but some of his colleagues from the UFTR. I think the United Federation of Teachers has played a really critical role in bringing awareness and political will about the community school strategy here in New York. And so I really want to applaud Mike Mulgrew and the UFT for their leadership in this work. Ernie Logan, I haven't seen him, but I want to thank also the Principals Union, also been critical in terms of bringing this model, bringing this vision more broadly to New York City, and really making sure that principals as well as teachers are at the table as we think about what it means to have the community school model come to scale in New York. I already mentioned the United Way of New York City. I want to thank Sheena Wright, who I know is here. Oh, there she is, Sheena. The United Way is going to be a key partner in this first rollout of the AIDP grant. Under Sheena's leadership, she's really committed the United Way of New York City to a model and to a mission that at its center had the community schools and collective impact strategy. And so I think doing this work is going to be critical, and in other cities where we've been able to bring this model to scale, including most famously Cincinnati, the United Way have played a central role there. And so it's really amazing that we have such strong leadership at the United Way to bring this work forward. And so I'm really glad to be partnering with my good friend Sheena on this work. Also not here is Nancy Zimpher, the Chancellor of SUNY. In her previous life in Cincinnati, at the head of the University of Cincinnati, she also played a central role in bringing the community schools model to scale in Cincinnati. And I think one of the best things for this movement was the day that she decided to join New York as the Chancellor of SUNY, because she's really been a leader of this work here in New York State. And so we're really excited for her. And then all of the different partners in city government. You're going to hear later from Bill Chong, the Commissioner of DYCD, who of course is playing a central role. I'm going to bring up Carmen Fariña in a second. I also want to thank Gladys Carrion, the Commissioner of the Administration of Children's Services, one of the agencies going to play a key role in this work. Dr. Mary Bassett at Health and Mental Hygiene is not here today, but when I think literally my first day on the job, she came to me and said, can we talk about community schools? And it was really excited to see that if we bring this work forward, it hasn't really taken any convincing. I mean, everybody in city government is very excited about how this is going to work. And so we're very excited to have her partnership. Marco Carrion, who I know is here somewhere, who's a commissioner of the Community Affairs Unit, is going to play a central role in how we communicate this work to communities around the city. We've done a tremendous job around so many of our initiatives, like universal pre-kindergarten, to making sure that families around the city are engaged, and they're going to play a central role in community schools as well. So I just want to thank all of our government partners. I'm sure there are many people who I'm forgetting for their leadership in this work as well. And again, we're really excited about this work, and I really want to thank everyone again here for being here and for their leadership. So I'm going to introduce a few speakers to get us started. The first person I'm going to introduce is Chancellor Carmen Fariña. And I've really had the pleasure over the last few months to work closely with the Chancellor, to get to know her. She is really I mean, visionary leader is not quite the right word, because being a leader is important, of course, and having a vision is important. But lots of people have big ideas, and I think what's so exciting about Carmen is not just that she brings ideas to the table, but really brings the expertise and skills to execute on those ideas. And that's why it's so exciting to have her as a partner as we lead this work. Again, I think one of the first times I met you, I think one of the first things you said was, let's talk about community schools, and particularly as we struggle with what have been some really tragic stories over the last few months, as young people struggle with the challenges of mental health. Carmen really understands that the community school strategy, including specifically bringing comprehensive, well-integrated mental health services to schools, is going to be central to building a school system that gives every child a chance to succeed and thrive. We had the opportunity to visit a bunch of community schools together and to really talk about different approaches to the work, talk about different models. We've seen some amazing schools together. I saw Jack Doyle a little while ago. We visited some amazing community schools around the city. And it's just really powerful to walk around a community school with an educator like Carmen, who really understands what she's seeing and asks very probing questions, which give me a lot of confidence that as work moves forward, we're going to do excellent and amazing work in New York City. She really believes in this approach. She believes in the central role of parents and community in schools. She believes in the concept of a school, not just as a place where children come from 8 to 3 p.m. during 8 and 9 months of the year, but as a center of community, as a place where parents and community should feel welcome, as a place where we have the opportunity to leverage all the strengths and resources of a community to deliver great services for our children. It is such an honor to call her my colleague, and I have the pleasure to introduce New York City Chancellor Carmen Fariña.
Good morning. First of all, I know so many of you in the room, and this is a dream come true. I can tell you that Sister Paulette and I dreamed this a long time ago. Lucy Friedman and I dreamed, I want to say years ago. But the reality is that, once you know that something can happen, we need to make sure it's done right. I've been meeting with people who have been doing some of the research on community schools around the country, including Cincinnati, and they say that in every place there's still an element missing. So let me give you an idea of what I think is crucial going forward, and I hope in whatever little groups that you're in, that you'll focus on all of these issues. And I'm going back to my 4 pillars. It's amazing how well they hold me no matter what the issue is. And the first pillar is really Common Core and improving student achievement. We can't go into any new programs without keeping our core mission in place, which is student achievement and student academic achievement in particular. So I want to say that a good community school, in my opinion, is going to really look at what some of the programs are, particularly in the after-school and Saturday world, that are going to increase student self-confidence, student poise, student ability to speak before an audience. The best programs have theater arts, they have dance, they have the arts really embedded in them because that is Common Core. It's not just fun and games, it's how do you learn to project yourself. Went to one of the community schools where the kids are putting on a play. Well, you want to talk about family involvement? Every single one of those parents showed up. And while they show up, you can give them a flyer on nutrition. You can say there's a meeting in 2 days. I mean, you need to figure out what the group needs and then how to get it there. But having those kids feel confident about what they're doing is crucial. We also convened a meeting of principals who have community schools in their building because I wanted to hear from them what they thought was really important and how they would prioritize. And almost to a person, what they all said is they need more embedding during the school day than just seeing this as an after-school program. What are the programs? And I'm very big, you should know, on lunchtime, meeting, I guess, in about an hour with the lunch group. And the reality is lunch is a wonderful opportunity for lots of things if we look at it as an opportunity. So how do you, and I'm going back to my years as a principal, I convinced my after-school program to give me some of their workers during lunchtime because that's when the kids had track and they had other things so that they would actually have a better opportunity. So I would say Common Core, making kids feel successful, but embedding whatever program it needs during the school day. Was in another community school in middle school where mentoring is a big part of that community program, and those tutors come in during the school day, and they work with kids in ways. So to the degree that you also have to partner with other mentors. And again, also thinking about, you know, if you have high school students who are on early session, I mean, early session now is like 1 o'clock, let them come in from, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. So I think the first pillar, which is academics, doesn't necessarily mean are they going to ace the test, although obviously I hope that does happen, but are they going to feel good about themselves? Because one of the Common Core is, do they come to school? I mean, Broome Street is a perfect example. They come to school because they're respected, because they want to do certain things, and because when they're there, the teachers are going to meet them at the level that they're at. And I think that's really, really crucial. Number two is dignity about administrators and teachers, and I would like to add parents, but I want to look at this one a little differently. One of the things that I get nervous about when we think about community schools is not a place. It's not, okay, from 3 to 6 there's a community school in my building. There's not a beacon. I was just discussing this with Gladys. It's that we are a whole atmosphere that takes place from 8 in the morning to whatever time, 6, 8, whatever. And that the principal has to believe in their deepest heart that they're totally committed to this. This is not something you give away to an AP to supervise. This is not a program you supervise. This is a program that you turn around in multiple ways, so it's an entirely part of your school philosophy. And you as a principal say, I believe in serving all the needs of the kids, their emotional needs, their social needs, their academic needs. And as a result, I'm going to have a program in my school where all my teachers are going to have some component or know what's going on. I have been to schools, not many, thank God, but some, where the after-school program, as they call it, is seen as like a perk. Well, it's like babysitting. And it can't be. We're investing a lot of money and effort in this to make sure that this is a total commitment on the school principal. And I'm going to ask when I visit a school, if it has a community school, and how involved are you? Now, that doesn't mean the principal has to be there all the time, but they have to understand what's happening in that building. And they have to understand that it's a resource, again, like Richard said, that is going to help them make the kids accomplish more. And when you read the papers about a lot of the issues, particularly our middle school kids have, and even high school kids, we need a principal who says, I know that it's really important that my kids' mental health and physical health is being taken care of, and that they're getting all these other services. So the commitment of the principal to me is crucial, and it means that it's part of what you do, that one of the things as schools are and we were speaking about what the RFP would look like, principals have to say, I believe in this because, maybe a little essay, and I plan to be personally involved in this particular way. And I think that's really, really important. I also think in terms of being involved, that we need to have liaisons. One of the things that I think happens also, sometimes community program comes in, and because you already have a template, it's like gets plopped in a school. I want it to be more organic. So how is the parent coordinator involved? How's the PTA president involved? I want to see parents part of the decision-making before the program is developed, not invited to participate after the program is already done. It has to be part of the planning. Not every community wants the same services or wants them in the same way. I've been visiting a lot of programs on Saturdays, and I'm amazed how creative a lot of principals have been. I went to see one I talk about all the time in Ridgewood, Queens, and the principal said, look, I found this need. I am getting a lot of new immigrants in my building, and they're coming in through the entire year. They're not coming in September. Wouldn't it be great if every new kid came to us in September? And they said, and because they're coming in during the year, they feel a little bit more left out. So he started a Saturday morning program for newly arrived immigrants. And he decided that the Saturday night morning program would be mostly focused on music. He has a hip-hop jazz program where the kids are learning English quickly through music. And I tell Joe Miller, I'm going to make him famous because he's done. And I said, well, where'd you get the money? He says, don't ask. He said, I pieced it together. I said, well, listen, I'm hoping you'll have a program where this will be. But he said, but the other thing he did creatively, he asked teachers to work on a shift. So he has 3 teachers working together, and every teacher only works every 3rd Saturday. So these are the kinds of things that we can do, but we've got to not go in to this planning with a template. We've got to go in with an end goal. What does your school need? What do you hope to accomplish with this program? And then what do we need to put in place to get there? And that's really a little different than just coming and saying, this is what it looks like, there it is, and move forward. So I think, having the choices, I think is very important. I think when it comes to family engagement, which is the 3rd pillar, I've said it already, parents need to be at the table right away. Parents need to have a voice on how their community is different than another community, and some of it is in terms of, are these newly arrived immigrants, are these people who have been around a very long time and need a different kind of service? Is there a community, and this is something that's been a long-standing issue with me, is this a community with a lot of single parents? And I really believe there's a whole role to play, community schools, in the lives of single parents. When I was a superintendent, one of the wishes I had was that we could provide one night a month for single parents to have a date night. And I mean date night with each other. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to provide dates for them. But the plan was to show movies in our school, popcorn nights, and we would babysit for the kids so these adults would have time to talk to each other and just feel they had 2 or 3 hours of downtime. I babysit for both my daughters at least once a week so that they can have some time alone, and I think it's part of their mental health. And if you're reading the newspapers, a lot of our parents are overwhelmed. So how do you take into account, and by the way, this demographics is in all neighborhoods. It's not just in high power, it's across the board. So how do you look at the needs that communities have? As a principal in a pretty upscale neighborhood, I ended up having one day a month, again, for single parents, just to do parenting classes, to talk to them through. I would be a guest speaker once in a while. Sometimes my advice was not too welcome, considering, the people wanted these very fancy solutions to how they can help their kids. And I would say have dinner with them 2 or 3 times a week, and people would roll their eyes. This is it? Yes, this is it. I think of Good Shepherd's Thanksgiving dinner, where the whole community comes together to have Thanksgiving. Eating together in many cultures is what you do, and it's what builds community. So how do you build that in to also the fact that many of our kids don't know what good nutrition is? So how do we plan that as part of that? I think also with parent engagement, it's really important for parents to see themselves as leaders. One of the things I always worry about is that the services we provide should not be seen as charity. They should be seen as part of how we make New York City better. And part of having parents is to advocate for themselves is teaching them to become the next leaders. And sometimes, as superintendent, certainly, I wish they were a little less advocates, but the reality is that's not good for the system. What's good for the system is when people can verbalize, and again, these are models for their own children. And I think that's important. When kids see their parents as leaders, they are more likely to feel good about themselves as well. And if I didn't say this, Cynthia would probably remind me. So there you are. You're keeping me honest here. So I think that the whole thing of parent advocacy for the right reasons is really important and should be part of a community school. I've certainly seen it in the best of community schools. I think innovation is really important. I would hope that as much as community schools have certain things in common, that they have a lot of things that are different. Because I would love to see an innovation in one community school that someone else can replicate. One of the things that we know is that, not again, if you do some ethnic celebrations, for example, I went to a community school that celebrates every Caribbean holiday because that's their community. And that makes sense, and we can learn from that. There's another one that may have a large Asian community, and they're going to be doing a lot of celebrations around that. That's important also. But how do you become innovative, particularly in the areas of health? One of the things we've been talking about is working more closely with our hospitals and also seeing how we can get the entire community involved. Community school is not the DOE and ACS. Community means the entire community. NYPD, it's everybody together coming and saying, okay, well, maybe part of this should be that the local precinct officer comes and does a presentation, and you can ask questions, and we talk about safe corridors. I had a principal the other day who said to me, you know, Carmen, I'm in a safe corridor, and I kind of looked at him and said, what does that mean exactly? He says, well, you know, this block is kind of one that we really want to make sure that parents understand that we have extra protection. Well, okay, but why not come in and talk, and why not help parents do some of that? So I really do think that's important. I want to talk also and end a little bit about what do I mean by collaboration. I'm hoping that many of the community schools, when people apply, also go to co-location sites. I would love to see more places where schools that are co-located have opportunities to share with each other. Not about sharing a community school in a specific school, but a specific campus. And if that's the way you're going, how do you formulate what you're going to do in a very clear way that everyone has to play nice in the playground? And I think that is really part of the co-location. We're putting a lot of grants and a lot of things out there that require that if there are 3 schools in the building or 4, that they come up with a common plan of what they want to see. And that would include phys ed and other things that I think some of you, are very, very good at. But that also means that these people will come together and talk with you, and all leaders in that building are part of the discussion. This is an opportunity that we cannot let go to waste. This is a dream that many of us had, and I know many of you in the room, for a very, very long time. And this is an opportunity for us to show the rest of the country. This is not about just New York City. This is the rest of the country, that when New Yorkers put their head together, we can solve a lot of problems. But more importantly than solving a lot of problems, we can create a whole new paradigm that puts every single person that is invested in New York City, and that includes corporate America, like I said, the hospitals, you name it, will be part of the table of the discussion. So keep the 4 pillars in mind. I have faith of you in this room, and you, like me, have wanted this for a very long time, so we've got to get this right, and I thank you.
Hey.
My 4 pillars. Okay,
You got your pillars in?
Oh, all 4 of them.
All right.
Yeah, the major.
It's in my head sometimes. It's amazing. Anyway, I do want to apologize because there's another group who I think have been instrumental in bringing the political will for community schools, and that's our friend from AQE and CEJ, Zakiya Salim and Cynthia Williams, Megan Hester from the Annenberg Institute, who's here somewhere. Again, building the political will to bring us to this moment has been critical. And so next I want to introduce someone who, if the whole mayoral thing doesn't work out, I think a career as a television personality is certainly possible. I'm just saying, like, if that doesn't, I'm saying you on TV every, now I see him too, it's not just in my head. None of us would be in this room today if not for Mayor Bill de Blasio. As a candidate, he promised to develop 100 community schools before the end of his first term. One thing he always says, he does not dream small, he dreams big. And as mayor of New York City, he is absolutely delivering on that promise. He understands the community school model. It really, I think, stems from his deep understanding as a New York City public school parent and the challenges of being a parent in the New York City public school system, and therefore, what does it take to build a school community that actually delivers to children and families all the essentials that can overcome the barrier that can stand in the way of teachers coming to school able to teach and children coming to school ready to learn. I am so honored to be serving his administration, and it is my deep pleasure to welcome Mayor Bill de Blasio.
I really liked Richard Buery until the comment about the mayoralty possibly not working out. I'm going to think deeply about that. What Richard was attempting to refer to was my appearance on Stephen Colbert last night. So, I just have to say, there is nothing more fun than hanging around with Stephen Colbert. So it was a high point for sure. And I think he's had an extraordinary impact on the debate in this country, which whether in character or not, he's had an incredible impact. So it was a pleasure. Richard, I want to thank you. I asked you to come into the beginning of something fast, intense, far-reaching. I said from the first talks we had that I was asking you to do something unprecedented, not just in terms of community schools, but in terms of pre-K, after school, children's cabinet, all of these initiatives that were really going to change the way we approached our work. And a lesser man, or maybe a smarter man, would have said no. But after several entreaties, you said yes, and I want to thank you for taking this incredibly important role on and doing it with such grace and such inclusion of so many voices in our city. Let's thank the Deputy Mayor for all he's doing. I'm going to talk about some of the other folks here from the administration, but first I just want to welcome everyone and thank you for agreeing to help us on this journey. Yes, as Richard said, we don't do anything small, we don't do anything slow. This is ambitious, this is intense, and we need friends and colleagues and good minds and collaborators to help us get this done. So I want to thank everyone for joining this advisory board to do something that really, I believe, will be historic. The 100 schools that we're going to do this term, as you know, Governor Cuomo's made a commitment to do 100 schools as well. What we're going to do here in this city and state, I think is going to have very far-reaching effects, not just for our children, our families, but beyond. So you're really present and involved deeply in the creation of something historic, and we're very proud of it. I want to thank our host, Sherry Gleed, and everyone at the Wagner School. Let's give them a round of applause for giving us a chance to be in the really groovy Puck building. I always like being here. It makes me feel immediately hip. Carmen Fariña, you just heard from, who's doing an extraordinary job leading our school system. And one of the things I see all the time is the fact that people respond. Teachers, parents, principals, everyone responds, not just to her passion, but to her knowledge, her experience, her tremendous history in the schools. This is the kind of leader we dreamed of, and we have it in Carmen Fariña. I want to thank Bill Chong for his extraordinary efforts as our Commissioner of Youth and Community Development. He's been playing a crucial role in the build-out of our summer enrichment programs, which are adding a lot to kids who need it, particularly middle school kids who need it this summer, making them stronger for the upcoming school year. And also Bill's playing a key role in the development of our after-school efforts in the fall. And I've put a lot of burdens on him too, and he has responded every time. Let's thank Bill Chong for all he is doing. I want to thank the shy and retiring Gladys Carrion. Anyone who knows Gladys got that joke. Gladys, also another person I asked to take on an extraordinarily challenging task, making the Administration for Children's Services work better, protect our children better, work more effectively with our families. That alone, but also playing a crucial role in the development of our pre-K program. And Gladys has taken on every challenge and is really forging tremendous reform at ACS, something a lot of us have been wanting for a long time. Let's thank Gladys for all she is doing. And then Marco Carrion may be in the room. I don't see him. Where is he? Marco Carrion, I'm going to talk about him whether he's here or not. Marco Carrion, the head of our Community Affairs Unit at the Mayor's Office, who is working with a whole host of community leaders around the city, clergy, civic activists, elected officials, and others, to make sure that what this administration is doing is working well with communities, and we're hearing back from communities, and we're spreading the word on the opportunities that we're creating whether pre-K, after school. Yesterday, paid sick leave, which we're very proud of, which is about to start taking full effect. And we were out there at the subways spreading the word, so Marco is playing a crucial role leading our efforts to connect with communities all over the city. So I think what has been quite clear since we started this process is that I think the fight against inequality, which is, I believe, the fight of our times, I think it takes many forms, but so many of the underlying changes we have to make if we want a more equal and fair society run through education. And the most lasting changes that we will make run through education. I mentioned paid sick leave. Paid sick leave is one of the things we're doing to address the need for better wages and benefits, to have a right now impact on people's lives who are struggling. But for the long term, to create a society that is more fair, more inclusive, to create more success for our people, to help to chip away and ultimately greatly reduce this dynamic of so many people unable to fully participate in the economy, that task runs through our schools. And we've said from the beginning that the status quo in our schools is unacceptable. Hasn't even been a hint in what we all believe or what we've said as an administration that anything like the status quo is unacceptable. We need profound changes. That's why we're doing full day pre-K for all. That's why we're doing after-school programs for every middle school child. And that's why we're doing community schools. And there'll be a lot of other pieces that you'll see in the weeks and months ahead. But the notion is to do bold structural changes that allow us to really look at what has not yet been working for so many of our kids and so many of our families and get under the hood and fix things more essentially. We're very proud of the fact that our teacher contract is going to open the door to a host of reforms and changes. We're going to have a lot more communication and connection between teachers and parents, a lot more ability for parents to play a really strategic role in their children's education. We're going to have a lot more opportunity for schools to act in a more creative manner, a reform program where schools get to change a lot of their own rules so that they can be more effective, so teachers have more flexibility. We're very excited that that's in the contract. We're also excited about the extraordinary response we're getting from teachers who want to be a part of that. So fundamental changes are embedded in that contract that are going to play out for years and years. So all of these pieces we are going to pull together, looking to the day, and I think this is a simple way to define it, looking to the day when you could look at any school in the city, you could walk into any school and feel that's a good choice for your child. We know for decades, there have been schools that parents have felt weren't good enough. And they've sought out schools that they thought were better. And that's understandable, and as a parent, I can fully relate to that. Our goal is to create enough consistency, enough progress in the school system that you could walk into any school and know it's going to be a high-quality education. That's what we're striving for, and all these pieces come together in that vein. Now, community schools, to me, are one of the most important, one of the most interesting, one of the options that will, I think, one of the thrusts that will have potentially the biggest impact. Because talk about getting to the root causes. If we can address the whole child and we can address the whole family, and we can bring the family more deeply into the educational process, this could be the breakthrough a lot of us have been working for years and years. So many people in this room I know have spent your lives devoted to children and devoted to improving our schools. Well, imagine, we've all been frustrated when we knew parents weren't connected to their kids' education, or parents weren't getting the support they needed. We've all been frustrated when we knew a child had a physical health problem that was holding them back, or a mental health problem that was holding them back and going unaddressed. You know, we've all been frustrated when there wasn't communication. So many people at the front line have seen what was needed, but there wasn't a methodology for addressing it. Community schools give us the possibility of bringing all these strands together coherently, addressing the whole child, bringing the family in deeply, and taking all of the efforts and all the investment made in education per se and amplifying it many times over, and making schools more deeply centers of each community. There's a lot here. Now, I know whenever I talk about my own experiences with community schools, I'm very careful because Richard's in the room. I always say Children's Aid Society, where Richard used to work, was really one of the great original innovators of the community schools concept. Thank you, Children's Aid Society. And then I say I went to Cincinnati. Okay. It did not necessarily all spring up in Cincinnati from whole cloth. They weren't the only one, Richard, but it's pretty amazing. Okay. And it is amazing because it is so total and it's inspiring. Now, a little scale point here. I think Cincinnati has 44 schools total. That's one of our 32 districts, right? So, I think clearly we're talking about a different scale dynamic. But what struck me in Cincinnati that I really appreciated was it wasn't just the fact that they were pulling the strands together. There was a demystification going on in the process. Parents, let's face it, and we've all experienced it. I experienced it even going back to my time as a school board member. Parents often feel they are not welcome in the school building, or their voices aren't heard. The community school model helps overcome that and sort of normalizes and integrates parents more deeply into the schools in a healthy, positive way. Let's face it, a lot of health problems have gone unaddressed or swept under the rug or were complicated or were mysterious. And certainly when we talk about mental health, this is an American challenge. This country doesn't talk about mental health openly and comfortably. And so in Cincinnati, one of the things I saw was the fact that mental health services were so readily available and that parents were encouraged to connect to it with their children, changed the dialogue because it was a commonplace. Because we weren't talking about something you had to go seek out in a strange place or go through a whole process to connect to. It was just part of everyday life. And the quote-unquote normalcy and consistency of the presence of health services helped to encourage everyone to take part in it. And then there were amazing elements like the level of volunteerism. There's a huge volunteer element, a lot of seniors in particular coming into schools, reading to kids, reinforcing and supporting what teachers are doing. There's a huge business component where the business community is deeply connected to the schools and committed to the schools for the long term. And the community school model has facilitated that. There's so much potential here. And clearly we've said 100 of these in the first term, but that is not the end of the line. We wanted to set a number that we thought was important and ambitious, but a beginning. If we all, and we need every one of you in this room to help us do it, if we keep proving this model works, proving it's viable, proving it's affordable, and I believe it is fundamentally affordable the way it's structured, and I believe it ultimately saves us a lot of money. But we have to keep proving it every day. Then the notion is expand it ever more deeply through the school system. And this alone could be one of the breakthroughs. So I'll paint the picture before I let you get back to your work. The school system with some very real and inherent strengths and some very real and historic problems. We come along and we say, we're going to go one by one at the problems. So we know we haven't been reaching children early enough and effectively enough, and we know the standards have been raised in the modern age. Solution, one piece of the solution, full day pre-K for all. We know we have a challenge, a lot of kids who need more time and attention, need more tutoring, need more homework help, need more enrichment, particularly at the middle school level. A solution, we're going to have guaranteed after school for every middle school child who needs it. We know that we have a problem of bringing parents in and connecting to them and getting teachers and parents in constant dialogue, a part of the solution in the teacher's contract. We know we want to foster more reform and innovation and openness, also in the teacher's contract. We know we need the whole community involved in schools. We know we have to address the physical and mental health needs of children. We know we need families to feel the school is their home. Solution, the community schools effort. All of these things will take time to build. But the beauty of them, I believe this in my heart, is they all build on each other, they all support each other. These are not just abstract silos. These are fundamental reforms that all support each other. And there's a lot more to do beyond that. I've talked a lot about the need to constantly improve and deepen our teacher training efforts, our ability to retain quality teachers, our ability to let our own teachers move up through the school system and become administrators and do that more effectively. There's so many other improvements we have to make. But think about what we will achieve if we get this right. Think about each of these layers supporting each other and the transcendent dynamic in our schools. and the fact that we'll say to our children that we're investing in them constantly because we care that deeply, we believe in them that much. We'll say to our parents that we see them as partners and part of the solution. This could be the transcendent moment. So thank you for all you are doing. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your brain power and the innovation you're bringing to this process and the ideas. We're going to need you throughout. This is the beginning of something much bigger, and we're going to need you every step of the way and deeply appreciate your involvement in our efforts. Thank you so much.